Sister always steals my food. I make a fool of myself on her graduation to stop her. I come from a family of 6, including my parents, my older sister, my older brother, my little brother, and myself. When we were younger, my parents would often bribe us into good behavior by buying us our favorite candy to munch on in the car. But I was never a giving person and didn't like to share just for the sake of it. However, my parents were trying to raise respectful and generous kids, so they often forced me to share things even when I didn't want to. My sister took advantage of this and would say she didn't want a bag of candy, but then once we were on the road, she would start taking candy from all 3 of us brothers. This really bothered me because I didn't get candy often, and when I did, I wanted to eat every last piece myself. Besides, my parents always offered to buy her a bag of candy for herself, but she would refuse because she knew she could just take from us. I started refusing her requests for candy, but my mom didn't like that and would force me to hand over the candy anyway. This went on for years, and I hated it. I would hide my candy when I got it, try to keep it out of my sister's reach, but always, a parent would intervene. Fast forward to my sister's college graduation. I was a senior in high school at this point, and we were up at her school celebrating at a fancy restaurant after her graduation that morning. In attendance were all immediate and some extended family, some close friends of my sister, and her long-term boyfriend who I was meeting for the first time. Our meal ended, and my mother offered to buy dessert for anyone who wanted it. My brothers, my dad, and I all took her up on it. I ordered a vanilla bean cheesecake with a burnt sugar bird's nest on top. My mother repeatedly offered to buy my sister anything she wanted, but my sister said she couldn't possibly eat a full dessert right now and turned it down every time. The food arrived, and everyone was staring at my cheesecake. I was sitting right at the head of the table in full view of everyone, so it was hard not to look. And right as the food was placed in front of us, my sister said, "I'll just have a bite of everyone's." At that moment, I saw red, having flashbacks to all the times my food had been stolen. Logically, I should have just handed over one bite. It was her graduation, it was a huge cake, and it would have been no loss. But it had become a matter of principle. So, in one fell swoop, in full view of everyone at the table, I swept up my slice of cheesecake and stuffed the entire thing into my mouth at once, shattering the sugar nest, crumbs falling everywhere. My sister stared, appalled, and said, "Did you do that just so I wouldn't get any?" I looked at her, cheeks ballooning out like a chipmunk, face covered in cheesecake, dead in the eyes, and nodded. There was a fair bit of shocked silence at that moment and in the very tense car ride home. But to this day, my sister never asks for anything from me anymore.